Hey, so I'm gonna read a story today, because Facebook won't really let me upload anything. It's being kind of stupid and whatever, and sorry, because people keep texting me, like, in the middle while I'm trying to read, but whatever, so here goes. This is Rumpelstiltskin, it's by the Brothers Grimm, and I'm gonna try to show you the pictures, but they're kind of hard to see because my lighting sucks. It's really bright outside, but I had to turn on my light because my walls are obnoxious, and like if I don't have a light on, I'm gonna be like turquoise, which is really awkward. I don't know, maybe I can show you. See? Oh, well, I'm like yellow, but before, like at this angle. Oh, maybe it does work. Oh, whatever. So I look like a fool, but let's just get to the reading, shall we? Okay. Rumpelstiltskin by the Brothers Grimm. There once was a miller who was very poor, yet his daughter was more beautiful than any maiden in the land. One day it happened that the miller met the king. I have a daughter who can spin straw into gold, the miller said, trying to make himself seem important. Is that so? Said the king. Such a skill interests me greatly, but bring your daughter to the castle tomorrow, and then we shall see what we see. When the girl was brought to the king, he led her into a little room filled with straw. He gave her a spinning wheel and a winder and said, now you must get to work quickly. If dawn tomorrow comes and the straw is not spun into gold, you will have to die. And then without a backward glance, he left the room. The girl heard a key turn in the lock. She was entirely alone and terrified, for she had not the least idea how straw could be turned into gold. The hours passed, and it grew darker and darker, and at last she threw herself upon the straw, weeping for her life, when suddenly the door sprang open. Before her stood a tiny little man. He was not even as tall as her waist. Good evening, my girl. Why are you weeping? He said. The girl answered, I was told to spin gold out of straw, and I don't know how to do it. What will you give me if I spin it for you? He said. You can have my necklace, she answered. And at this, the little man sat himself before the spinning wheel and began to work. And there's the beautiful maiden, and there's the tiny little man. Oh, I can't. Woo! And there's the spinning wheel and stuff, and she's like enormous, and he's tiny. The wheel whirred and sang all night, and through the night, one by one, the spools piled up near were filled with gold. When the king unlocked the door and saw the glittering gold, his mouth fell open with astonishment. Yet he was not satisfied. You did well, my dear. Now let's see how much more gold you can spin for me tonight. He led her to another room, filled with straw, and this one was much larger than the first. If you value your life, you will spin it all by morning, he said. Once again, the girl began to weep. Suddenly the door opened and the little man appeared. What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold? He demanded. The ring from my finger, she said without hesitation. And so he began to work at the spinning wheel, and by morning he was done. Not a piece of straw remained in the room, only spools and spools of gold. The king was delighted at so much gold, but he was a very greedy man and still wanted more. He led the miller's daughter to a third room, far bigger than the first two, and filled to the top with straw. If you shall turn this into gold, you shall be my queen. The king no longer cared that she was only a miller's daughter. All he could think of were the riches he would gain. When the girl was alone, the little man came again and said for the third time, what will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you? I have nothing more to give you, she answered. Promise me your first child if you should become queen. Who knows if that'll ever happen, thought the maiden. And so she agreed. Without another word, the little man set to work, and soon all the straw was turned into gold. When the king came in and saw it, he celebrated his marriage to the girl at once. Now the miller's daughter was queen of the land. About a year later, a beautiful child was born unto her. She had forgotten all about the little man, but she had made a promise, and the very next day, there he was in the room. Oh, I lost my page! Okay. So, he's in the room with her, blah, blah, blah. Now give me the child, he said. The queen was horrified and told the little man he could keep... he could have all the wealth of the kingdom if he would let her keep the child, but he cared nothing for riches. I would far rather have some living thing, he said, and he reached out his arms for the baby. At this the queen began to weep and moan as if her heart would break. The little man took pity upon her and said, I will give you 3 days, and 3 days only. If within this time you discover my name, you may keep the child. During the night, the queen remembered all the names of every... What? Okay. Sorry, sometimes I don't know how to read. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. The print's like really huge too. Oh my god. It's embarrassing. Okay. During the night, the queen remembered all the names she had ever known, and she sent a messenger into the countryside to discover what other names there were. When the little man appeared the next day, she began to call them out one by one. Are you Casper? Are you Balzer? Balzer? Who the fuck names their kid Balzer? But each time he only shook his head and said, "No, that's not my name." On the second day, the messenger told the queen the most strange and unusual names from the farthest part of the kingdom. "Is your name Cow Ribs?" she said to this little man when he came. "Perhaps it's Spindle Shanks. Perhaps it's Lace Legs." Where is she getting all of these? This piece of hair is like bothering me. I need a haircut. Ugh. "No, that's not my name," he said again and again, and now only one day remained. But the next morning the messenger returned to the palace riding hard. "I have found no more names," he told the queen. "But as I came to a high mountain at the end of the forest, I saw a tiny little house, and in front of the house a fire was burning, and around it a strange little man was hopping on one leg and singing, 'Today I bake, tomorrow I brew, the next the queen's child I will claim. Luckily it is that no one knows that Rumpelstiltskin is my name.' How glad the queen was when she heard this name. Soon afterwards the little man came back and said, 'Now what names have you for me today?' 'Is your name Klaus?' she asked. 'No.' 'Is it Heinz?' 'No.' 'Is it perhaps Rumpelstiltskin?' 'The devil told you that! The devil told you that!' screamed the little man. In his rage he stamped his foot so hard on the ground that he sank in up to his waist. And then, as the queen watched in horror, he seized his other leg with his hands and tore himself in two. The end. And here's the last picture. It's the queen looking pretty pleased with herself. She kind of looks like one of the Who's in Whoville. And then there's Rumpelstiltskin. He's like pissed, and he's like, I don't know if you can really see very well, but he's like up to his ankles in floor. So maybe I'll record another video in a minute, but that's it for Rumpelstiltskin. I'm sorry that I don't know how to read, guys, okay? Like, I feel kind of bad about that, but whatever. I was nervous. It's my first story video, so... Okay, so, bye.